I write entirely to find out what I'm thinking, what I'm looking at, what I see, and what it means. Joan Didion. Hello class, in this video we're taking a look at the writing process and the revision process, and we're looking at how free writing, which is the practice of responding to your prompt and just kind of writing the first thing that comes to your mind. We're looking at how free writing can kind of show you or teach you what you think about something and what you want your paper to look like. In other words, if you write from start to finish, you're probably going to learn something about what you want to say in your paper. You're going to know more than when you started. That quote from Joan Didion is instructive here, right? So we're talking about translating your general thoughts into a written form. When you do that, you're reviewing them, you're changing them, and you're discovering things about your own take on a certain topic or about your approach to a certain argument. The example we have here is a free writing response to a prompt, and in this we're going to see the writer learning what they want to say as they go through. So let's go ahead and give the prompt a read. If you could use a time machine for one day, what times and places would you visit? Tell me why you would choose these times and places. You have a full 24 hours, so you can take many trips. And now let's give this free writing response a read. If I could use a time machine, I would go to so many places and times I wouldn't even know where to begin. I think that I would first go to the beginning of time with the dinosaurs to see how life really was. I want to see what a dinosaur actually looked like in real life, because all we really have now are assumptions based on research, and it is possible that we are all wrong. Next, I would probably go to different stages of the future. I would like to see if anything has changed and where I would be. I would probably go to 4 years in the future first to see how my life is going and if I'm in school or actually fulfilling my dreams. After that, I would go about 10 years into the future to see what my career is and if I have a family and to see how my family is doing. Lastly, I would go to about 60 years into the future to see how life is when I'm old. That is a long time from now, and I wonder if life is going to improve at all. I wonder what our technology is going to look like, because we've advanced a lot already since I was born. What if flying cars actually become invented? That would be super cool. Overall, I have realized that I wouldn't really go back into the past. I personally am mostly interested in what the future has in place for me. So as you can see, the writer has done some good things that show that they're keeping kind of essay structure in mind. So they begin their free writing response by doing what we call flipping the question, right? So if the prompt is, if you could use a time machine, what would you do? You respond by saying, if I could use a time machine, I would do X, Y, and Z. So the writer is clearly thinking about an essay structure. They're using a general first, second, third transition structure. So they're not totally random. They're creating, even from the start, some sense of organization. But what's the big takeaway from this draft? Well, the writer begins by saying that they would go back in time, they would look at the dinosaurs, that would be amazing. By the end, we even see them write this in their final conclusion, that they've learned something about what the focus of their essay is going to be. They write, overall, I have realized that I wouldn't really go back into the past. I personally am mostly interested in what the future has in place for me. So notice that the prompt does not ask, how did your thoughts change about where you would go in your time machine? The prompt says, if you had a time machine, what would you do with it? So this whole process of figuring out what you want to say, that needs to be edited out and smoothed out, so by the time you have a draft completed, the reader is not seeing you deliberate with yourself. They're not seeing you change your mind in the middle of the essay. You're going to make those changes beforehand, and that is what the drafting and revision processes are for. So what would you do with this knowledge? After your free writing, after every draft, you need to return to what you have written and analyze it and say, what is working, what is not working, what do I care about, what do I not care about, and what changes am I going to make? What will I cut? What do I need to add? In this case, the writer is probably going to be cutting some stuff in order to get to the heart of what they want to say. So let's make some changes and take a look at that. So if I were the writer of this piece, I would first cut things I don't need, and then decide where I want to spend energy expanding my ideas. So in this revised version, I've removed stuff in the beginning and end. I've removed the stuff about the past, and I've removed that concluding sentence where the writer realizes they really want to learn about their own future. I moved that concluding sentence to the beginning. Because it's really the introduction and overview, the claim about what the writer would do with a time machine. So this is what the slight revision looks like. It begins, if I could use a time machine, I would mostly be interested in what the future has in place for me. I would probably go to different stages of the future. And then it continues more or less unchanged. And at the end, it ends this way. I wonder what our technology is going to look like because we've advanced a lot already since I was born. What if flying cars actually become invented? And here would be the end of the draft, and the writer would need to pick up in the subsequent or next draft. So in other words, the only things that have changed is I've removed some things that were not important, and now the writer would have the freedom to add new ideas. So some of these new ideas might be, what will technology look like? How will new future technology affect my life? How will future technology affect my career? How will future technology affect my family, perhaps? So once we've removed things we don't need, we can focus on what we want to add, what will give depth to the ideas that we really want to spend time on.